What's going on, everybody? B. Scott here on today's show. We got your running back sit starts heading in to week number 9. I'm going to go through your obvious must-start running backs, and then I got a few guys I like this week and a few guys I don't like. So keep it locked and loaded right here at the first 4 downs. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. As I mentioned in the preview, we're going over your running back sit starts heading in to week number 9. So before we get into the content, don't forget, like the video, subscribe, share, thumb bell, and then comment. If there's a running back I didn't mention, because I'm not going to mention all of them, drop in the comment section. I'll be glad to give you my advice, whether to start them, sit them, flex them, anything like that, or trade them if you want to. So let's dive right into the must-start running backs. I got 12, my top 12 this week, and what I like is just rattle them off real quick, and then we'll get to some guys that obviously you might be on the fence with starting. So first off, Jonathan Taylor versus the New York Jets. Absolute smash spot. New York Jets give up the most fantasy points to running backs. The new number 1, I would say, at the running back position. Now that Derrick Henry is out, I like Jonathan Taylor. Austin Eckler, another guy, smash spot. Playing the Philadelphia Eagles, 4th most fantasy points. You're starting him in any given week anyway. You're firing him here. Aaron Jones. No Aaron Rodgers, out with COVID, so maybe they rely on that running game once again. Playing the Kansas City Chiefs, who we know have been giving up a lot of points to the running back position. So Aaron Jones, smash spot. Najee Harris playing the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears been decently tough against the running back position, but Najee Harris has been great, so you're starting him. Alvin Kamara playing the Atlanta Falcons, smash spot. Joe Mixon playing the Cleveland Browns. It is a tough matchup. Cleveland gives up, I want to say, the 10th fewest fantasy points to running backs. Pretty tough matchup. But Joe Mixon's seeing the volume, and he's seen it in the passing game as well, so you're starting Joe Mixon. Cordero Patterson, he's been great. And without Calvin Ridley there, I think they're going to rely on him even more in the passing game. So I like Cordero Patterson, even in a tough matchup against the New Orleans Saints divisional matchup. So you're starting him. Ezekiel Elliott playing the Denver Broncos. Tough-ish matchup, but Zeke's been great. You're firing him. Darrell Henderson, honestly, an unsung hero of the fantasy running backs. A top 10, 12 running back on the season. He gets the Tennessee Titans. You're going to be starting Darrell Henderson. Nick Chubb at the Cincinnati Bengals. Must start obvious. Nick Chubb, yes, last week didn't necessarily really impress, but he stayed healthy throughout the entire game. Looking like he'll be even healthier coming into this one, and I like Nick Chubb potentially as a top 10, maybe even top 5 back this week in a divisional matchup. Then you got Dalvin Cook playing the Baltimore Ravens on the road. Kind of a letdown last week, just 78 rushing yards, I want to say, against Dallas Cowboys defense. But you're starting Dalvin Cook every single week, set it and forget it. And then Darrell Williams. I got him right in here as my 12. Kansas City, they're really struggling on offense. And it's looking like they're working the check down game a little bit more. You saw Darrell Williams with 6 receptions, I want to say, for 60 yards. Good for him. I get it. Now, yes, he's possibly splitting the backfield with Derek Gore, but I still like Darrell Williams, especially in passing down roles. And they're playing the Green Bay Packers, a tough-ish defense. So I would still roll Darrell Williams out here as a potential top 12 option. So let's get to some running backs that I would be starting, putting in my lineups, especially this week. First off, Elijah Mitchell versus the Arizona Cardinals. Now, yes, the Arizona Cardinals have given up the 8th fewest fantasy points to the running back position, I want to say, but they've allowed 4.7 yards per carry. We've seen just on Thursday night what A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones were able to do, and we know the 49ers, it starts at running the football. Now, yes, today is Wednesday. I'll have this video out to you guys, and Elijah Mitchell did miss practice, so you're going to have to pay attention to that. Dealing with some ribs, sore ribs, it sounds like, according to Kyle Shanahan. So if Elijah Mitchell's active, I obviously like him. He's been very good over the last few weeks, back-to-back games with 100 yards. He's got 17 plus carries in every game with Jimmy G under center. So I like Elijah Mitchell as a plus start this week, even in a tough matchup, a division matchup at home. And going forward, I think Elijah Mitchell is a guy that I would be buying, considering down the stretch they got a lot of great matchups and he's looked good. So Elijah Mitchell must start for me this week, even in a somewhat tough matchup. Then we got Devontae Booker playing the Las Vegas Raiders. 12 plus carries in the last 4 games, 20 touches last week. He saw 5 receptions for 65 yards, had 60 on the ground. Still put together a pretty good day against the Chiefs. And honestly, they're lacking pass catchers. And now there's talk Sterling Shepard. He's going to miss some time. Kadarius Toney, we'll see if he'll be healthy. Kenny Golladay, missed practice once again. And Saquon Barkley, missed practice and is now on the COVID list. So Devontae Booker for me in a smash spot here where he's touching the ball pretty much almost every single time for all the running backs. So I like him, especially this week. The Las Vegas Raiders have allowed at least 1 touchdown to a running back in 6 of 7 games this year. And I would be starting Devontae Booker, getting him in your lineups this week. Myles Gaskin, another guy I like this week, especially based on the matchup. Playing the Houston Texans. Houston give up the 4th most fantasy points to the running back position, the most rushing yards. And Myles Gaskin, 12 plus carries in back-to-back games, 3 plus receptions in back-to-back games. And it's looking like with Malcolm Brown out, he's getting the lion's share of the carries, and I think this matchup's going to put him in some positive game script here. I like Gaskin to probably see 12 to 15 carries. And he's going to get you probably close to that 15-point mark. So I like Myles Gaskin, especially this week. And then Boston Scott. And I'll throw Kenny Gainwell in here. Now, yes, Kenny Gainwell was a huge letdown last week. I didn't think the game script, and I don't think anybody expected the Philadelphia Eagles to absolutely blow out the Detroit Lions. I really didn't. I can't believe it. But the game script really dropped him out of this game. Now, he faced the Los Angeles Chargers. Give up the third most fantasy points to the running back position. The Los Angeles Chargers allow 5 yards per carry on average, which is insane. 9 rushing touchdowns on the season. That's third most in the league. So Boston Scott, you probably got to be starting him here. I just worry about the game script. Now, yes, this is not the Detroit Lions we're talking about. This is the Los Angeles Chargers. But Philly is at home, so they do have the advantage there. I like Boston Scott as a potential start here on early downs. 12 carries for 60 yards and a touchdown. Back-to-back weeks with a touchdown. Actually, had 2 touchdowns last week, but back-to-back weeks with a touchdown. And I like Boston Scott in this matchup if they can keep the game script right. Miles Sanders, if he was here, you'd probably be starting him too. But Miles Sanders just hasn't been able to put it together. Is Boston Scott even better? Not necessarily, but I like him in the start this week, just based on the early down work and the potential for a touchdown. And then Kenneth Gainwell, I know it would be a hard start for most people if you're in a pinch. I think Kenneth Gainwell this week, based on the game script, they could fall behind the Los Angeles Chargers, albeit I get it, the game script, and we'll have to see how good the Chargers offense can be. But I like Kenneth Gainwell in a pinch if you really need to start it in a deeper league. And then Boston Scott, he would be a start for me heading in to week number 9. So now let's talk about some running backs that I would be potentially sitting this week. First off, Damien Harris. It's just a tough spot. Carolina giving up the second fewest fantasy points to running backs, allowing 4.4 yards per carry. And they've been good against the running back position, albeit Devontae Booker. He did end up getting an 18-yard touchdown run, I want to say, but still finished the day with just 50 yards rushing. They've been good against the running back position. Also, they're getting healthier on defense. I think that's what we saw against the Atlanta Falcons last week. So I don't necessarily love Damien Harris in this matchup, and we know he doesn't catch passes. So the game script should probably be somewhat neutral. Who knows if Sam Darnold's going to play, dealing with concussion. Who knows what this game... I mean, this game's not going to be very pretty anyway, either way. But Damien Harris has been good. 4 straight games with a touchdown, and he's been very effective on the ground for the New England Patriots. But I worry that he just doesn't find the end zone in this one, and he's pretty touchdown dependent at this point. So I don't necessarily love it. I get it. If you're starting him, he's played great. So I have no problem with you rolling him out there. But I think if he doesn't find the end zone in this one, it could just be a disappointing day, probably under 10 fantasy points. So he would be a potential sit for me this week. Another sit for me, Javonte Williams. On the road against the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas giving up the 5th fewest fantasy points to the running back position. And Javonte Williams just hasn't impressed. Hasn't separated himself from Melvin Gordon enough for me to be warranting a start here. Now, yes, Melvin Gordon, it's even hard for me to start him too. You're talking about a complete split backfield in which who knows where the production's going to be. And the Dallas Cowboys are pretty good. There's probably going to be some negative game script here. So I don't necessarily know which running back I can trust. And even then, they split the passing down work. So you can't guarantee one over the other. So Javonte Williams, even Melvin Gordon, potential sits for me heading in to week number 9. Another guy I don't love this week, James Conner at the San Francisco 49ers. Now, if there's no Kyler Murray, that hurts this offense altogether. But you saw when he played the 49ers earlier this season, he found the end zone, but still only 10 carries, and he was held to 29 yards. That's not very good. Obviously, his value's within the touchdowns, and he's been great. He has 8 touchdowns on the season, which has been outstanding, actually overachieving to even what I expected. I did expect 8 to 10 touchdowns on the season, but he's already at 8 touchdowns, so it's pretty crazy. A touchdown in 5 of the last 6 games. But just the matchup alone, San Francisco is giving up the 11th fewest fantasy points to running backs, allowing just 3.7 yards per carry to the running back position, and James Conner hasn't been efficient. He's been hyper efficient in the red zone, but as for a yards per carry basis, not very great. So James Conner to me is a sit. If he finds the end zone, he's got to save his day, but I just don't love it this week, so I'd be sitting him. And then my last sit of the week, Khalil Herbert. Now, yes, Khalil Herbert has been pretty good over the last 3 weeks, but even last week, 23 carries, I want to say, for a total of 70-something yards. And now he's on the road on a Monday night game against Pittsburgh Steelers, who play good in prime time, and the defense has really started to pick it up over the last few weeks, giving up the 8th fewest fantasy points to the running back position. They still only allow just 2 running backs a touchdown this season, so I don't love the matchup here. And Damien Williams actually started the game last week. Albeit, yes, he injured his knee, so we'll have to wait and see if he's healthy enough to play in this game. I don't really know, but Khalil Herbert is just a sit for me in a tough matchup. I get it. If Damien Williams is to be ruled out and you see 23, 25 touches in the future for Khalil Herbert, then yes, it's hard to sit a guy with that kind of volume, but it's not a great matchup. So that's why he's a sit for me this week. So that's it. That's been your running back sit starts. your must-start guys, some guys I like this week and some guys I don't necessarily love heading in to week number 9. So if you have any questions, drop in the comment section. Any running backs you want to ask, drop in the comment section. I'll be glad to give you my advice, sit, start, trades, whatever. So for the first 4 downs, it's been B. Scott, and I'm out.